Hello and welcome to CTV News Across Canada for Tuesday, September 9th. We've got the top local stories from coast to coast, stories that affect you and the country. Thanks for joining us.
A scene of devastation at a Kitchener dealership after flames tore through luxury vehicles shortly before 4 a.m. Saturday.
My cell phone was ringing, so I woke up. I was at home. One of my employees, he called us and he said, somebody put fire in the dealership and the cars are burning.
What was once a row of sleek, high-performance vehicles, now nothing but twisted metal and charred frames.
It was a big, shocking thing for us.
Surveillance video from Extreme Motors Limited shows an individual dousing cars with fuel before igniting them, almost catching themselves on fire in the process.
He was full, wearing black clothes and stuff, but he was covered. You cannot see his face. So he had a big jerry can in his hand and he came directly in front of our dealership and he targeted the most expensive cars on the dealership.
In total, 6 vehicles were destroyed, including a Mustang, a Maserati, and a Mercedes. Damage is pegged at around $250,000.
We were finally coming back to your feet, you're working hard and all those things, and you don't want these kind of things happen.
The suspect was seen fleeing in what Khan described as a light blue Toyota RAV4. He noted that in surveillance footage captured about an hour earlier, the same vehicle was seen driving by the business.
They came first time 2:30, but there was some traffic on the road and the side they didn't, and then they came back at 3:45. Then they circle around and then 3:48.
Waterloo Regional Police say they are investigating this as arson. No physical injuries have been reported. The dealership says this is the second time it has been the target of arson. The first incident happened in 2013, where they faced $300,000 in damages.
We will still look into that investigation to see if maybe there's any type of potential, and that's all part of what the investigators are doing at this time.
In response to this latest incident, the business has offered a $10,000 reward for information leading to the arrest and conviction of those responsible.
I would like to give $10,000 rewards to those people who will help police to get these guys caught.
Despite the loss, Khan says Saturday's incident isn't slowing them down, and it's business as usual, though they're rethinking safety and whether displaying vehicles outside is worth the risk.
Tomorrow it could happen to another one. I don't want anybody to get hurt because we all work really hard.
Hannah Schmidt, CTV News, Kitchener.
And building our economic strength right here at home.
Prime Minister Mark Carney says ACOA will be responsible for distributing money from the Tariff Relief Fund, announced this afternoon.
$80 million for Atlantic Canadian small, medium-sized enterprises.
The $80 million comes from the $1 billion meant to help small to medium-sized businesses diversify markets and adopt new technologies amid the trade war.
Look, $1 billion is a lot of money. The overall format of $1 billion is a lot of money. And what we're allocating here is bigger than the relative share of population, the relative share of GDP of the overall Canadian economy, allocated that way.
The reality is there needs to be some expediency here. From an ACOA perspective, it'll be a question of potentially weeks and hopefully not months.
Louis-Philippe Gauthier is the Atlantic Vice President of the Canadian Federation of Independent Business. A survey by the Federation found that 1 in 5 small Canadian business owners dealing with tariff costs won't last into the new year if the status quo lingers on.
And we've saw it during the pandemic multiple times where programs had to be modified because the understanding of the federal government as to the impact on businesses was too set in one direction, and we had to do a lot of advocacy to extend the programs.
Carney said today the government is prepared to add more supports in the future. Nick Moore, CTV News, St. John.
The Crown wants fired jail guard Alex Williams to spend 18 months in jail after he pleaded guilty to breach of trust and smuggling contraband cannabis and cigarettes into Central North Correctional Center. The provincial and federal prosecution telling Justice Stacey Nichols the court must send an unequivocal message to all correctional officers and peace officers that breaches of institutional trust will be met with meaningful custodial sanctions, and to do otherwise would undermine public confidence in the justice system and institutional integrity. Defense lawyer Jeffrey Fisher sought an 18-month conditional sentence, including 12 months under house arrest, followed by 6 months of curfew or 9 months behind bars. The defense told the court Williams had a tough upbringing and was remorseful. Williams, now 25, had been under investigation by provincial police for months in late 2023, following suspicions he was bringing contraband into the jail for inmates. According to an agreed statement of facts presented to the court, Williams was captured on surveillance cameras during his shift on December 4th, 2023, removing shoes from a duffel bag, then placing the shoes on a cart. Police were watching nearby and quickly put Williams under arrest, finding 4 long cylindrical packages with 264 grams of cannabis and cannabis byproducts inside the packages, along with 260 grams of tobacco rolling papers, lighter parts, and matches. After being cleared to search his vehicle, police found a shoebox inside containing $4,000 Canadian in $20 bills in $1,000 stacks. The defense said Williams did not admit the cash came from bringing the contraband into the jail. According to those who know him, Williams worked at the Penetanguishene jail for about 2 years prior to his arrest. The Crown told the court, offenders like Mr. Williams do not just smuggle contraband, they smuggle risk into already volatile environments, adding, a message must be sent that the law will not tolerate insiders facilitating criminal enterprise within custody walls. Williams is scheduled to be sentenced later this month. Mike Arsledy, CTV News, Barrie.
A dramatic scene early Monday morning, an SUV colliding with the illegal magic mushroom dispensary Shroomies on Rideau Street, bursting into flames and setting the building ablaze.
We heard a car horn.
The business gutted, the charred car left at the scene.
The first thing I'd ask is who owns the car and where's the car come from?
I'm shocked. I'm really shocked. I can't really believe it.
Ottawa police unable to say whether the car was stolen or who it belongs to. Emergency crews were called to this scene at around 4:45 in the morning. And despite the extent of the damages, no injuries have been reported. And then just about 15 minutes later, another fire here on Preston Street at another Shroomies Magic Mushroom dispensary. The damage on Preston isn't nearly as severe, and no injuries were reported there either. Police say the arson and explosion unit is now investigating.
They will do a physical examination of the scene in order to collect evidence and try to determine the origin and cause of the fire, and then gather evidence on who set the fires and who was responsible for the arsons.
The dispensaries sell mushrooms that contain psilocybin and psilocin, also known as magic mushrooms or simply shrooms. They've been illegal in Canada since 1975, but dispensaries are operating in Ottawa, some with little resistance.
The police are dealing with things like fentanyl and other drugs that are much more harsh, killing people with no medicinal value whatsoever and severe penalties. So they've only got so many people and they can only do so much enforcement.
And this isn't the first time that these two dispensaries have been at the center of arson investigations. Back in March, both of these Shroomies locations were at the center of another arson investigation. And in this case, Ottawa police are urging any witnesses or anyone with information to come forward and contact them.
Early this morning, crews removed the sheared-off pipe where the Parkside Drive speed camera once hung. The camera cut down this weekend for the 7th time in under a year.
The people in the city are ruthless. It's clear that people don't like it.
The camera was installed in 2021 on the eastern border of High Park after 71-year-old Valdemar Avila and 69-year-old Fatima Avila were killed by a speeding driver. The street is now marked with community safety zone and school crossing signs, as well as a sign indicating there's a municipal speed camera in use.
It's necessary. There are cars that speed up and down here despite that at all hours of the day and night.
This latest act of what police call mischief over 5,000 comes just days after CTV News Toronto obtained new footage showing the camera being cut down in real time.
It's incredible. Cutting down so many times and hasn't been caught yet.
I mean, how difficult can it be? I can't catch them, but the police should be able to.
While area residents question why someone hasn't been caught, so too are politicians.
Well, it's embarrassing and it's unacceptable. You know, after the third time, not the 7th time the camera was cut down. Mayor Chow should have convened a meeting with everyone, including with the police chief.
Councillor John Burnside, who was once a Toronto police officer, says there are basic security measures that could be put in place.
High security fences that are very difficult to cut through. You could put those around the camera. You could encase it in concrete.
The mayor herself told CTV News today the situation is an embarrassment.
Every time I hear that, the camera's down again, I cringe.
But she says people have to do the right thing and obey the law, adding this is a police matter.
I love for the police to catch the criminals, maybe 1 or 10. I don't know how many out there.
That response not cutting it for the community group Safe Parkside.
It feels like they've completely abandoned Parkside residents.
Faraz Golizadeh has called on the city to do more, redesigning Parkside to include sidewalks on both sides of the roadway and adding infrastructure to make it safer for cyclists.
Right now, Parkside only has a single sidewalk. The sidewalk doesn't even meet the city's minimum width.
Last November, the city approved a redesign for the road that included both bike lanes and traffic calming measures. But those plans are up in the air, given new provincial legislation that prevents municipalities from removing traffic lanes to make way for bike lanes without approval from Queen's Park. In the meantime, area residents say they're astonished this keeps happening.
It's a little crazy that people are that upset about it, that they'd be willing to keep coming here and knocking it down and having the risk of getting arrested and going to jail.
The Parkside Drive speed camera has issued more than 70,000 tickets and generated over $8 million in fines. Reporting live from Janice Golding. Now back to Michelle.
About 18 months after single-event sports betting was legalized across Canada in August 2021, Dr. Sean Kelly says he began seeing adolescents, mainly boys, coming in with online gambling-related problems.
It tends to be at the lower end, 12 to 13, all the way up to their young 20s.
But the thing that really drove home how influential online gambling ads are was an incident with one of his own kids.
Asked me what the difference between plus minus and an over-under was. And that was, hearing that from a 7-year-old made me become keenly aware of who was being affected by these advertisements.
And while there are restrictions on who can participate in online betting,
just like all adult-oriented online content, keeping youth away from it has yet to be effective in certain spaces.
Dr. Kelly says the harms tend to be mostly financial, but also things like substance use, anxiety, and depression can result.
I'm very concerned that suicidal behavior may seem like a reasonable solution to a financial problem that they have caused for themselves and their families.
The Canadian Medical Association Journal says we can't wait for a rash of severe results like teen suicides before acting on the problem of teen online gambling. And they're supporting a new bill to create a framework of stronger restrictions.
A number of advertisements per segment, number of advertisements per broadcast, there's a whole bunch of different ways that this could be measured and addressed.
Bill 211 passed its second reading in the Senate in June, but the CMAJ says it's just a first step. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
The psychiatric evaluation ordered by Justice Bertrand Saint-Arnaud was delivered today, but the prosecution and defense do not agree on its conclusion, and so today's hearing was brief. The judge set a trial date for next Monday, when the psychiatrist who wrote the 48-page report will testify. The judge will then have to decide whether or not the accused was criminally responsible. A publication ban prevents us from naming the woman in order to protect the privacy of the 3-year-old child. The accused was calm as she entered the courtroom wearing a dark gray sweatshirt and smiled at family who were in attendance. The defense did not speak to media after the hearing. Prosecutor Lily Prévost-Gravel said both sides agree on the facts of the case, but not on the mental state of the accused when the 3-year-old child was abandoned.
The facts are not contested because we will do the trial by admission. After that, we're going to look if the result of the psychiatrist evaluation is admissible for the judge, and if he decides to follow or not the recommendation of the psychiatrist.
The mother was originally charged with child abandonment, and an additional charge of criminal negligence causing bodily harm was added. That carries a maximum sentence of 10 years in prison. The mother was arrested on June 16th, a day after she reported her daughter missing. A large-scale police search was conducted in Quebec and Ontario. The girl was found 3 days later, alive and alone. The mother will stay at the Pinel Institute, where she has been held since July. Next week's trial will determine whether or not she will stay there. In Valleyfield, Denise Roberts, CTV News.
Kids are back in school, and some parents and caregivers are concerned the kids will be facing more than just tough math and science questions in the classroom. Morden resident Lisa Dick is worried about the recent rise in measles cases across the province.
It's really concerning, and I feel like it's something that is so unnecessary, that if people were having their kids vaccinated, that it just wouldn't have to be happening.
Dick says she is concerned because she knows people who are immunocompromised. Her friend's son is 7 years old and lives with leukemia. Although everyone in the family is vaccinated, Dick says her friends are constantly worried each time they leave the house over a potential exposure to the virus.
And even with friends that they would normally hang out with, just, have really been having to pick and choose.
Data from the province suggests there's a real reason to be concerned over the spread of the measles virus. A measles outbreak began in October 2024. On August 9th, there were 182 cases reported in the province. By August 30th, that number had risen to 207.
This is entirely preventable. So this isn't like a normal thing that we should expect to have to be dealing with. Those numbers are continuing to increase as a direct result of low immunization rates.
On September 3rd, the Garden Valley School Division in Winkler sent letters to parents based on back-to-school provincial protocols with the virus. If a child is exposed, they may be required to stay home for at least 3 weeks, but some may be able to return if they receive one vaccine dosage. Singh says the message from the province is simple.
The vast, vast majority of people who are immunized are protected, and protected for decades and decades.
Joseph Bernacki, CTV News, Morden.
The Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities says it's been lobbying the federal and provincial governments for bail reform for the past 4 years. FNOM says its members and police services have long raised concerns about the revolving door justice system that allows repeat offenders back into its communities. The Prime Minister and Ontario's Premier have recently stated reform is needed.
This government is committed to reforming the criminal code.
People are absolutely done with us. We have to change Young Offenders Act. We have to make sure we have bail reform, and we need mandatory sentences.
FNOM's leader says these words are encouraging.
We think it's a step in the right direction. The last thing you want to see is anybody incarcerated, but the reality is there are some that need to be dealt with, and a little harsher.
Wayland says North Bay's Police Chief Daryl Longworth has been a strong participant in all of FNOM's meetings on the issue. Chief Longworth says if people are a danger in the community, they need to be kept apart from it.
If there's a risk that they're going to cause violence or wreak havoc in the community while they're awaiting trial, then they should be kept in custody.
And both Longworth and FNOM say if there is not enough capacity in jails, build more.
The provincial government and the federal government have to step up and do their part and make sure there's places for these people to go.
Until they are built, we continue to be burdened with the extra costs.
FNOM says it will follow up with the Prime Minister and the Premier to ensure they stay true to their words. Lydia Chubak, CTV News, Timmins.
Prime Minister Mark Carney making the announcement in Mississauga, Ontario this morning, along with a number of supports for different tariff-affected sectors, including the agriculture industry. Now, Carney says the $370 million biofuel production incentive will assist domestic producers and help them restructure their value chains, adding the government will be making changes to update its clean fuel regulations.
We will make targeted amendments to the clean fuel regulations to spur the development of a vibrant biofuels industry in Canada. And we'll increase the loan limits for Canadian canola producers to $500,000 and invest in agri-marketing and trade diversification measures to support our entire agriculture and seafood sectors.
Now, locally, Premier Scott Moe and his office say they are pleased with the financial support going towards canola producers in the province. Now, Moe will be heading to China tomorrow with the parliamentary secretary to the Prime Minister, where they will meet with Chinese government and industry leaders, focusing on the removal of Chinese tariffs on canola.
If we were able to return and to be a step in the process of bringing the Prime Minister of Canada and the President of China closer to having those discussions about moving forward, not just with respect to canola, pulse crops, pork, or seafood, but actually, moving forward on a discussion on, what opportunities might lie ahead for us and in a broader trade relationship.
Now, in other developments today, China has announced it's delaying its decision on the anti-dumping probe into Canadian canola imports for another 6 months. That decision now set to come out on March 9th, which buys both sides more time to negotiate.
It's the latest suspected case of extortion-related violence in Surrey. This time in a quiet residential neighborhood in South Surrey just before 4 in the morning.
We received calls for sound of gunshots in the 14300 block of 28th Avenue. Members arrived on scene and did locate numerous casings on the roadway on 28th Avenue. No buildings or people were injured or struck in the incident.
By Friday afternoon, there was little indication of any shooting in this quiet neighborhood, apart from patrolling Surrey police cruisers. And while not providing specifics, police believe this is an extortion-related shooting and say they understand the ongoing public concern.
Believe it or not, we're also frustrated, but these things do take time. We're working with our public safety partners. There is a joint forces operation out of E Division that we're in regular contact with, as well as the National Task Force and surrounding jurisdictions, and everybody's working to identify the people responsible.
Word of this shooting comes as Port Moody police share details on this fire early Wednesday morning, which ripped through a barber shop and a mortgage business. Police in that case saying they are not ruling out an extortion link with the suspected arson. A number of news outlets, including CTV News, were sent this video, which appears to show the fire from inside Manny's barbershop before the person shooting the video runs. Police believe there are people in the community with information about these cases and ask anyone who can help with the investigation to come forward. Martin McMahon, CTV News, Surrey.